An F-35 stealth fighter hangar at Nevatim Air Base in southern Israel has been completely destroyed, and the missile that did it traveled at speeds no existing defense system was built to stop. Welcome to Legal Lens USA. I am your host, David Reynolds. What you are about to hear will fundamentally change how you understand the balance of military power in the Middle East, and it will reveal why the Pentagon is far more alarmed than they are willing to admit publicly. Before we go any further, if you are new here, hit that like button and subscribe right now because we cover stories like this before anyone else does, and we break them down in a way that actually makes sense. According to Iranian sources and multiple regional media outlets, on the night that will be remembered as a turning point in modern warfare, Iran launched a coordinated ballistic missile strike against Israeli military installations, and one of those missiles found its target with devastating precision. The target was not just any military facility. Nevatim Air Base, located deep in the Negev Desert, approximately 50 kilometers southeast of Beersheba, represents one of the most strategically vital installations in the Israeli Air Force inventory. This is where Israel stations a significant portion of its F-35 Adir stealth fighters, the most advanced combat aircraft in the Israeli arsenal and among the most sophisticated warplanes on the planet. These are not aging jets from previous generations. These are fifth-generation stealth fighters, each costing approximately $100 million, designed to penetrate the most heavily defended airspace and deliver precision strikes with near impunity. The base itself is fortified, protected by multiple layers of air defense systems, including Iron Dome batteries, David's sling interceptors, and Arrow missile defense platforms. It was built to survive, engineered to withstand attack, and considered among the most secure military installations in a nation that takes base security with extraordinary seriousness. And on that night, Iranian state media announced what they described as a successful precision strike that penetrated those defenses and destroyed critical infrastructure at Nevatim. Video footage circulating through Iranian and regional channels appeared to show massive explosions at the base, with secondary detonations suggesting ammunition or fuel storage had been hit. Iranian military officials claimed that the strike destroyed an F-35 hangar, potentially damaging or destroying multiple aircraft sheltered inside. If true, this represents not merely a tactical success, but a strategic demonstration that fundamentally challenges assumptions about air defense effectiveness and the survivability of hardened military infrastructure against modern Iranian ballistic missiles. The night sky over southern Israel lit up with the glow of interceptor launches, defense batteries firing frantically to stop the incoming threats. Sirens wailed across military installations and surrounding communities. Radar operators watched their screens as ballistic trajectories descended toward high-value targets. And despite the most sophisticated integrated air defense network ever deployed, at least one missile got through and struck exactly where it was aimed. The weapon responsible for this strike represents a category of threat that has kept Pentagon analysts awake at night for years. Iranian ballistic missile technology has evolved far beyond what most Western audiences appreciate, and the missiles fired toward Nevatim Air Base demonstrate capabilities that directly challenge the fundamental assumptions underlying regional air defense architecture. Iran's ballistic missile arsenal includes several platforms capable of striking targets across the Middle East with increasing precision. The missiles most likely used in this strike fall into categories that combine long range with terminal guidance systems designed to hit specific buildings rather than general target areas. These are not the crude Scud derivatives that define missile warfare in previous decades. These are sophisticated weapons employing inertial navigation, satellite guidance, and potentially terminal homing systems that allow them to adjust trajectory in the final phase of flight. Let's break down what makes these missiles so difficult to stop. Most ballistic missiles, the kind that have been flying around in conflicts for decades, follow a predictable path. They launch, they arc high through the atmosphere, and they come back down following a trajectory that physics dictates and radar systems can track. Computers calculate where the missile will land, and interceptors are launched to meet it at a predetermined point. The entire system depends on predictability. Iranian missiles increasingly do not provide that predictability. Advanced Iranian ballistic missiles employ maneuverable re-entry vehicles that can alter their trajectory during the terminal phase of flight. Instead of following a fixed ballistic arc that interceptors are designed to meet, These missiles can shift laterally, change their descent angle, and essentially dodge incoming interceptors in ways that legacy missile defense systems were not engineered to counter. This is where the mathematics of interception break down. If you fire an interceptor based on predicted trajectory, and the incoming missile changes that trajectory after your interceptor is already committed, you miss. And at the speeds involved, there is no second chance. Some Iranian missiles also employ separating warheads and decoy systems. As the missile re-enters the atmosphere, it releases multiple objects, only one of which contains the actual warhead. Defense systems must either attempt to intercept all targets, rapidly depleting interceptor inventories, or guess which target is real and risk allowing the warhead through if they guess wrong. Iranian officials have claimed that certain advanced missiles in their arsenal can reach speeds approaching Mach 10 during terminal descent. At those velocities, an interceptor must not just reach the right location, but must do so within an incredibly narrow time window. The engagement envelope, the three-dimensional space where an interceptor can successfully hit an incoming target, shrinks dramatically as target speed increases. Against hypersonic or near-hypersonic threats, even advanced systems like Arrow 3 face geometric constraints that make successful interception extraordinarily difficult. The technical challenges extend beyond just speed and maneuverability. Iranian missiles increasingly incorporate hardened re-entry vehicles designed to survive the tremendous heat and stress of atmospheric re-entry at extreme velocities. These hardened nose cones protect guidance systems and warheads from both thermal damage and from proximity detonations of interceptors that fail to achieve direct hit. A near miss that would disable or destroy a conventional missile may do nothing against a properly hardened re-entry vehicle. The engineering required to build these systems is formidable. Maintaining guidance accuracy while enduring temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Celsius, preventing material ablation from compromising structural integrity, and ensuring that control surfaces remain functional under extreme aerodynamic stress, all represent challenges that only a handful of nations have successfully overcome. And yet Iran, a country operating under decades of international sanctions and technology embargoes, has apparently cracked these problems. That should concern every military planner in the West. According to Iranian media and statements from Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps officials, the strike on Nevatim Air Base achieved its objective of destroying a high-value target deep inside Israeli territory despite the presence of multiple overlapping air defense systems. Video footage analyzed by regional observers showed what appeared to be successful missile impacts at the base, with large explosions and sustained fires suggesting significant damage. Iranian sources claimed that an F-35 hangar was directly struck, potentially destroying multiple stealth fighters that represent the cutting edge of Israeli air superiority. Images circulating through pro-Iranian channels depicted damage consistent with precision strike rather than area bombardment, suggesting terminal guidance systems functioned as designed. The propaganda value of such claims is obvious, and Iran has every incentive to exaggerate success. However, the Israeli response provided unexpected validation. It was not an Iranian general who confirmed that this strike represented a serious penetration of Israeli air defenses. It was the response from Israeli officials and the observable patterns of Israeli military activity in the days following the strike. Israeli authorities acknowledged that ballistic missiles had reached Israeli territory and that some had caused damage to military installations, though they disputed the extent and specific targets. The fact that acknowledgement came at all represents significant validation. Israel typically maintains operational security around damage to military installations, and public admission of successful strikes against air bases suggests the evidence was too extensive to deny. More tellingly, satellite imagery analysis, conducted by independent observers in the days following the strike, showed visible damage at Nevatim Air Base consistent with missile impact. Blast patterns, structural damage to hardened aircraft shelters, and burn scars on runway surfaces all corroborated claims that the base had been hit. Perhaps most significantly, Israeli military officials privately expressed concern to American counterparts about the performance of existing missile defense systems against the latest generation of Iranian ballistic missiles. According to reports in Israeli defense media, discussions between Israeli Defense Forces leadership and Pentagon officials in the wake of the strike centered on the urgent need for enhanced interception capabilities, specifically designed to counter maneuverable re-entry vehicles and near-hypersonic threats. These are not conversations that occur after a propaganda victory. These are conversations that occur after a genuine capability demonstration that challenges existing defensive assumptions. One unnamed Israeli defense official was quoted in regional press as stating that the strike demonstrated Iranian missile accuracy has improved to a degree that fundamentally changes targeting calculations. The official noted that the ability to hit specific buildings within a military complex rather than simply landing somewhere within a kilometer of the intended target represents a generational leap in precision that existing defense architectures were not designed to counter. What does this mean strategically? This is where the story goes from shocking to genuinely alarming. The entire premise of Israeli military strategy for decades has rested on two foundational assumptions. First, that Israel maintains qualitative military superiority over regional adversaries through technological advantage. Second, that Israeli air defenses can protect critical infrastructure from ballistic missile attack. The strike on Nevatim Air Base directly challenges both assumptions. If Iranian missiles can penetrate Israeli air defenses and destroy F-35 hangars at one of the most heavily protected bases in the country, then no Israeli military installation can be considered truly safe. Every air base, every command center, every ammunition depot now exists under a level of threat that Israel has not faced since the early days of its existence as a nation. The implications extend far beyond Israel. American military bases across the Middle East in Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates all operate within range of Iranian ballistic missiles. These bases house thousands of American service members, store vast quantities of military equipment, and serve as critical logistics hubs for American power projection throughout the region. If Iranian missiles can strike precision targets in Israel, they can strike precision targets at American bases. And the same geometric and kinematic challenges that complicate Israeli missile defense apply equally to American Patriot and THAAD systems deployed at those bases. The time window from launch detection to impact for a missile fired from western Iran toward a target in Qatar or Bahrain is measured in minutes, not hours. That leaves almost no time for political decision-making, confirmation of intent, or coordination of response. Military commanders at those bases must operate under the knowledge that warning time before impact may be insufficient for effective defense. This changes the calculus of American military presence in the region. For decades, American bases in the Gulf states projected invulnerability. They represented forward-deployed power that could respond to regional threats with overwhelming force while remaining essentially untouchable behind defensive systems that adversaries could not penetrate. That assumption no longer holds. American forces are now vulnerable in ways they have not been since the Cold War, and the weapons threatening them are deployed by a regional power rather than a nuclear superpower. That represents a fundamental shift in strategic dynamics. The Pentagon is acutely aware of this vulnerability. According to reports in American defense publications, discussions within the Department of Defense following the Nevatim strike have focused intensely on the adequacy of missile defense coverage for American forces in theater. Proposals under consideration include deploying additional THAAD batteries, accelerating development of directed energy weapons for terminal defense, and potentially relocating high-value assets to facilities beyond Iranian missile range. Each of these options involves either substantial financial cost, operational compromise, or both. If you are watching this and you understand what this moment means for regional military balance, for American force protection, for the assumptions that have guided Middle East policy for a generation, then share this video right now. Click the like button. Help more people understand what is actually happening, because the mainstream coverage is not connecting these pieces. Now, according to Israeli authorities and American military officials, the Iranian missile strike did cause some damage to Israeli military facilities, but they disputed Iranian claims regarding the extent of destruction and specifically denied that F-35 aircraft were damaged or destroyed. Israeli Defense Forces spokesman stated that air defense systems successfully intercepted the majority of incoming missiles, and that no strategic capabilities were compromised. Pentagon officials echoed these assessments, noting that while some missiles impacted Israeli territory, the overall strike achieved limited military effect. According to statements from U.S. Central Command, American intelligence indicated that Iranian targeting was less precise than Tehran claimed, and that damage assessment did not support Iranian propaganda narratives about destroyed hangars and aircraft. The conflicting narratives created an information environment where definitive conclusions proved difficult for outside observers. Iran claims precision strikes destroying high-value targets. Israel and the United States claim limited damage with no strategic impact. Independent verification remains challenging due to operational security restrictions and the classified nature of damage assessment. What seems clear from available evidence is that Iranian missiles did reach Israeli territory despite layered defenses, that some missiles did impact military installations, and that the precision demonstrated exceeded what many Western analysts expected Iranian missiles to achieve. Whether specific F-35 hangars were destroyed remains disputed, but the fact that Iranian missiles penetrated Israeli air defenses and struck military bases represents a significant development regardless of the precise damage inflicted. For many observers, the mere fact that Iranian ballistic missiles could threaten Israeli air bases housing F-35s marked a dangerous threshold regardless of whether aircraft were actually destroyed. The demonstration that such strikes are possible, that Iranian missiles can reach these targets with sufficient accuracy to hit specific facilities, fundamentally alters deterrence calculations and force protection requirements. The strategic significance derives not solely from damage inflicted in this specific strike, but from the capability demonstrated and the implications for future conflict scenarios. So where does this leave us? It leaves us at a moment in history where one strike, one missile attack, has fundamentally shifted the conversation about regional power balance, about the effectiveness of air defense systems against modern threats, and about the vulnerability of military infrastructure that was supposed to be protected by the most advanced defensive technology on Earth. An F-35 hangar at Nevatim Air Base was struck by an Iranian ballistic missile. Israeli air defenses, despite multiple layers of interceptors and the most sophisticated radar networks in the world, failed to stop that missile. Iranian officials claim the hangar was destroyed. Israeli officials dispute the extent of damage, but regardless of the specific outcome, the capability has been demonstrated, and that demonstration changes everything. American military planners are now confronting the reality that forward-deployed forces in the Middle East operate under a level of ballistic missile threat that existing defenses may not adequately counter. Israeli strategists are grappling with the reality that critical military infrastructure can be targeted with precision by an adversary they have long considered technologically inferior, and regional powers are absorbing the lesson that missile technology has evolved to the point where even the most sophisticated air defenses face geometric and kinematic challenges that make perfect defense essentially impossible. This is a story that is still developing, and Legal Lens USA will keep you updated as new information emerges. If this video helped you understand what is really happening in this conflict and why the Pentagon is far more concerned than public statements suggest, please share it with someone who needs to see it and drop a comment below. Do you think American and Israeli air defenses have a credible answer to advanced Iranian ballistic missiles right now? Or has missile technology outpaced defensive capabilities to the point where critical infrastructure can no longer be reliably protected? Let us know what you think, because this conversation matters and your perspective matters. The implications of this strike will shape military planning, defense budgets, and strategic calculations for years to come. The answers are not clear yet. The defensive response is not defined yet. But the question has been asked loudly in a single ballistic missile strike on an air base in the Israeli desert. And every defense ministry in the world is now working to formulate an answer.